today, so please make Jack feel welcome.
Oh, pressure's on. Testing, testing. Yeah, everyone can hear me. Look, hopefully you're all here for the right discussion. So how a young security researcher and a security firm challenged vendor vulnerability misconceptions, or the alternative title is, how do you get vendors to actually give a crap? Okay, so who am I? Obviously, I'm walking around the stage and I'm trying to show off. So I work for the Missing Link. Quick idea about who I am. So I have actually previously worked as a senior software engineer and an application security engineer. Reason for trying to get working as two different things is I figured I'd get two paychecks. Unfortunately, I got double the work, and one paycheck. And yeah, look, I'm not recommending it to anyone. I now work as a security consultant, so I specialize in application security. I have both OSCP and OSWE certifications, so I'm hoping it means you can listen to me, you can sort of see I know what I'm talking about. And I do have a lot of zero-day discoveries, so that's kind of my street cred. So it's like, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. And because we are here for this conversation, I have dealt with a lot of vendors, especially as part of my zero-day disclosure stuff. So how does the story start? Well, once upon a time, every story starts with an exception. Get it, guys? Exception, full stack trace. Wow, this presentation's gone downhill already. Fuck. But yeah, look, just like any story, we start with vulnerability. Could be a little mistake, could be a major mistake. Honestly, it doesn't matter. It's a vulnerability. Gets discovered by a security researcher, like yourself, a pen tester, maybe a hacker, or a cyber criminal, who knows. So in our case, the story's hero is Melody Day. They are in the audience, if you want to quickly wave to everyone. Yep, there you are. So Melody found a lot of vulnerabilities in a very, very popular education software package. And yeah, I mean, we're kind of looking forward to being 20 years in cybersecurity there. So who is Melody? Look, Melody is actually a high school student, and like I said, the story hero. His dad started teaching them programming at the age of 3. They've worked on many projects, from operating systems to games. Favorite pastime, I think, is writing programming languages. Yeah, got it. By age 15, they had 10 zero-day discoveries. Now that is unbelievable. That's actually quite impressive. The parents had only consulted lawyers twice about the discoveries. Well, again, that's pretty impressive. Typically at that age, you gotta bring up a lot of lawyers. They do hope to work in cybersecurity. And there's a GitHub profile, Melody 17, if you guys wanna check them out. Nope, that's busted. Nope. Down. There we go. So, this happened a long time ago, basically like about a year ago or so. Like we said, Melody finds a significant number of vulnerabilities, like significant. Now, normally you would think to yourself, okay, one vulnerability, yeah, that's pretty bad. One's bad. 2, okay, now we're getting pretty messed up. 3, okay, that's WTF territory. Except, there was a lot more. There's something like 7 or 8 in this software package. So, what does Melody do? Well, she says, all right, I have to notify someone. That's step 1. So what's the response? That's it, silence. So the entire notification process basically gets bogged down in absolute bureaucratic crap, and it just dies. So I think everyone can see where this is going. Look, just like everyone else before Melody, you try and reach out to someone. You're like, hey, I've got a vulnerability. What do I do? What do I do? You email a vendor. Maybe you call them up. And just with everyone else, Melody gets ignored. The end. Right? Right? That's it. Okay. Thank you for the talk. It was nice talking to you all. I'm going to pack up now. Yeah. No, not quite. So I do want to start with a quote from a very, very shocked vendor. And this is an actual quote. "There are no vulnerabilities. My software gets tested all the time." I honestly don't know why they were thinking that, because we found a whole bunch of vulnerabilities in the software, and the only thing I can say to this is maybe they need to stop just running automated tools and actually test it properly. But yeah, okay, the end. No, like I said, not quite. Look, the sad reality is that a lot of disclosure stories will end like this. So we'll basically, you'll find a vulnerability, you'll try and reach out to the vendor, you'll get ignored, and that's it. That's the end of it. Now, a lot of people at this point will go either of the three directions. Some people will basically be like, you know what, screw it. I'm dumping the vulnerability. I'm going to put it out in the wild. This is what we call immediate disclosure. Other people will be like, you know what, no one's listening to me. I might as well make some money on it. Let's sell the 0 days. Make a bit of money on the side. You know, you watch the world ban. And the third possibility is you basically go, you know what, this is all too hard, whatever. Someone else can deal with it. But let it fade into nothingness. Either way, the software remains vulnerable. Software is vulnerable, people get affected by it. You know, it's not an ideal outcome. The bad guys literally win. Because sooner or later, bad guys figure out the vulnerability as well. It starts getting exploited in the wild. So, let's use plot twist, okay? Luckily, you're here for our talk. So it does not have to end in the typical way. Like after this talk, hopefully you'll get some ideas on how you can actually change the story for the better. How do you change the ending? And this is literally how we ended up changing the ending for the better. So how did we go from Melody getting ignored to Melody actually getting some traction, us getting some traction, the vendor actually fixing the vulnerabilities? So Melody actually reaches out to us, and it involves Carlos. Carlos, do you want to wave to everyone? Yep, so that's Melody's dad. Very cool thing, Melody actually created a report for us. So it had POCs, had exactly how to exploit this thing. Yeah, lots and lots of information present. Honestly, I think when vendors get these reports, it's kind of like, huh? So we had to put on the vendor hat at this point. So step one, we basically have to get a copy of the software. Now, our job is to basically verify all the vulnerabilities, basically do what the vendor would normally do. So where do we get a copy of the software? Well, luckily for us, there's a publicly available download link. Like, it's completely public. So we're like, sweet, well, here's a copy of the software. Now we gotta install everything. So we gotta confirm vulnerabilities, install the software, gotta configure it, get it up and running. It's honestly painful. Like, this is a very, very painful process, but we get there. And luckily for us, there's also support documentation. So when we download it, there's a whole bunch of stuff on how do you set up the software. And we follow the guideline exactly as it says. So cool, we got a nice little lab going, we got everything set up, perfect. We look at the report, it's very well written. Like I said, lots of POCs. We start playing with the software, we start confirming what's in the report. Yeah, it's vulnerable. It's bad. It's really bad, actually. And then what do? Well, because we are a security company, we do a lot more research. So we start playing with the software even more. And oh boy, this thing starts falling apart. There's basically a crap load of vulnerabilities in here. I think we're talking something like 30 plus that we discovered. This is like ranging from absolutely critical to just medium. Yeah, like you can probably buy, you don't have to fix it right now, but majority of them is absolutely critical. So at this point, we got to create a report for the vendor. And I think everyone knows how that feels. Like, we all like hacking stuff, but when you actually have to create a report, that's the boring bit. But, got to do it. All right, so I've got another quote. This is a very, very confident vendor we were talking to. And we actually popped their software, and we said to them, hey, this is what the vulnerability is. And the response was, it's fine. Our advanced analytics will pick up the attack. Your data will be safe. Now, this is after we actually launched the attack and stole all the data, and they didn't actually pick it up. So I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking was going to happen. But anyway, so I want to do a quick detour. So look, let's say you want to do vulnerability disclosure. So how would you go about this? Well, you test an application, right? Yeah, obviously you have to test an application. You find a vulnerability, obviously, because it's vulnerability disclosure. So then you reach out to the vendor. Now, if all goes well, Vendor might have security reporting, so it's literally straightforward disclosure. If not, well, that's when things get a little bit less ideal. This is when things get interesting. But all right, let's talk, the typical straightforward disclosure. So, okay, well, vendor basically confirms vulnerability. Hopefully you gave them a very, very cool POC, like the previous talk. That was really cool. I really like that. Hopefully it's a script that someone can run. So you don't want to give them a massive report. Ideally, it's just a script, something they can very quickly run, be like, yep, sweet, I'm vulnerable. Hopefully they have, like I said, a publicly available email that you can send a disclosure to. They have proper channels for doing the disclosure. Anyways, it's all excellent. It's all straightforward. It's all going well. Now, if they are what we call a CVE numbering authority or a CNA, they will give you a CVE number. Otherwise, you can get one from Misiura. So you literally fill out a form. You say, hey, I've got the software. Here's the version. I'd like to get a CVE number assigned to myself. Like I said, this is all straightforward stuff. So vendor patches the vulnerability. Yay. It's all fixed. You ask the vendor, hey, is it fixed? Confirm the fixes. You can wait 90 days at this point if you want to. Again, it's all straightforward stuff. You disclose. Everybody claps. Everyone wins. Everyone's happy. Right? Boring. This is honestly, you want the drama. This is why we're here, right? Right? Everyone's here for the drama? Yeah, I thought so. So, okay, this is the less ideal disclosure flow. So let's say, look, again, I'm gonna make a perfect world in here. Let's say you did manage to get the vendor's attention. So it's not like they just ignored you and went, yeah, whatever, into the trash, into the junk folder, whatever. So the vendor responds. Now, there could be one of these responses. They could say, hey, you're blackmailing me. That's quite common. They'll literally turn around and say, oh, no, this is blackmail. I'm going to get legal people involved. Alternative one is where they turn around and say, oh, well, what are you trying to sell me? I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to get you fixed up. No, you're trying to sell me something. Clearly. What security tool are you trying to sell me now? Better one is when they tell you there's no issues. Literally, there's no issues. No, don't worry about it. There's nothing to worry about. It's not a vulnerability. You're wrong. No, but here's the POC. No, you're wrong. No, not a vulnerability. Don't need to fix it. Or alternatively, like I said, the fourth option is completely ignoring you. Nothing happens. All right. So this is an angry vendor, like I said. And this is stuff this is literal quotes from vendors, by the way. You are blackmailing me. That's what they said to me. I'm reporting you to my lawyer and ASIC. And I thought, wow, cool. Okay, do they have lawyer, ASIC, and they just start calling them and they get a conference call going? I say, hey, lawyer, hey, ASIC, listen, this guy just tried to blackmail me. Oh, what did they do? Oh, they told me I have a bunch of vulnerabilities in my software and said I better fix it. Whoa, we're getting the police involved right now, don't worry. So, how do you get noticed? Because like I said, most of the time you won't have to deal with a vendor basically saying you're blackmailing, but a lot of times it's basically how do you even get noticed? Vendors basically know you. Well, first step, you get a non-responsive vendor to respond. Okay, but how? Well, okay, emails will only get you so far. It's interesting because a lot of the times you will try and email someone, like I said, there's straightforward stuff, they have a proper security disclosure thing. So it's literally security at whatever. Typically, it's going to be something like info at or sales at or whatever. This is not monitored by security people. That's what you need to understand, first of all. They get an email on one of these, they will think of it as, oh, no, they're trying to sell me something, or this is another marketing thing, or this is a blackmail thing. A lot of times, they just completely ignore it because they look at them like, yeah, whatever. Nothing to do with me. So at this point, you have to find a different channel. We personally recommend something like support forums or even phone numbers. So support forums is really good because you can literally post a question saying, hey, I happen to be using your software. I've found a bunch of vulnerabilities. Who can take a look at this? Can someone actually take a look at this? And support people tend to be fairly technical, so they will generally grab it and be like, okay, let's see what we can do with this. Phone numbers is another one. So how do you get phone numbers? How do you get people's contact information? Look, you can actually use LinkedIn. And you could try emailing people directly, or you can try calling people directly. It can get a little bit annoying at this point, but it's a good way to get someone's attention. Because remember, info ad, sales ad, not really monitored. But if you call up the CEO, like, they're going to start listening. So, like I said, you want to call people. So how do you do that? Telemarketing 101. You got to introduce yourself. Hi, I'm here to sell your product. No, I'm kidding. You're not here to sell anything. But you want to be polite and you want to explain that, hey, you are a security researcher. You're not some salesperson. You're not here selling them stuff. You're not trying to sell an extended car warranty. I mean, maybe you are. I don't know. Whatever. You are basically trying to give them vulnerability information. So you are trying to explain to them that the software happens to have a problem. That's it. I'm not selling you anything. I'm just trying to get you to understand that I found a problem in your software. The next thing you need to do is basically send up a follow-up email. So why do you want to do that? Well, if they start threatening you or getting angry and getting annoyed, like I said, like the one I had was, oh, you're blackmailing me. You know, I'm calling my lawyer, calling ASIC, calling police, calling whatever. An email helps, A, set up a trail that you're not actually blackmailing them. B, it helps clarify anything. So when you've called them up, you know, they might be feeling annoyed, tempers are running hot. Email is a good way to cool things off. Again, in the email, you want to highlight the fact you are a researcher, not some hacker. Because remember, if they're thinking you're a hacker, if they're thinking negative things about you, they're going to have negative expectations. So the whole disclosure process basically starts to fall apart. Your job is to calm them down at this point. You want to explain that, look, you are finding vulnerabilities, not because you want to break the software, but because it helps people look at your profile and be like, yep, this person knows security, I can trust this person. This helps your career. And again, you want to point out, if they do have a bug bounty, you don't want to say this, but let's say they don't have a bug bounty. You're not after any money, you're not looking for rewards or whatever, you're just trying to get them to fix the software. That's it. So, let's say you did get notified. Cool, you know, they are responding. Again, you have to be polite at all times. You gotta be polite. It doesn't matter how angry they're getting. They might start calling you names. They might start getting annoyed that you called them up. You need to maintain the professionalism, that politeness. Think of it from their point of view. You are a potential threat. You're a hacker. And hackers are bad. You know, their whole lives have been told that hackers are bad. So you're a bad guy, try and call them up. Now here's something interesting. Do not threaten disclosure. A lot of responsible disclosure will say, yeah, you know, tell them that they've got 90 days to disclose, otherwise you go in public. Sorry, they've got 90 days to fix, otherwise you will disclose, you'll go public. Don't do that. Don't do it. That's actually not a good idea. It works really well if you're someone like Apple or Microsoft. It doesn't work well if it's, you know, like myself or Melody, just literally calling up someone at Microsoft saying, hey, you know, in 90 days, I'm going up with this. You know, you're just small fish. You're a complete unknown at this point. You want to offer them help. That's the other thing you want to do. You want to give them lots of resources. OWASP is a really good one. Except the problem with OWASP is a lot of people look at it, like, you know, us security people will go, oh yeah, OWASP, cool, I know exactly what OWASP is. But your typical vendor that's never dealt with security will look at it and be like, oh, why are you sending me a link? What is this link? A better one might actually be Australian Cybersecurity Centre. And they have a lot of information on disclosure and how to run a disclosure program. You can actually point them at that. Say, hey, this is actually a government website. You are happy, you know, we are happy for you to click on it. Don't listen to us, listen to the government. The most important thing I can tell you is you need to be polite, you need to be persistent. But there's a difference between being persistent and harassing people. So you don't want to harass them, you want to be polite but persistent. And you want to keep records of every single communication in writing, just in case everything starts blowing up and they start accusing you of harassment or blackmail or whatever. You can always point back at your stuff and say, whoa, I never harassed you, never blackmailed you, I'm just trying to get you to fix stuff. All right, so here's our vendor, so the vendor from our story. We tell people not to expose it to the internet, so there's no problem. There you go, hackers hate this one trick. Just close port 80, close port 443, close all the ports, keep it internal, not a problem. Well, unfortunately for them, they literally had a whole ton of users. You can imagine, like it's education, so students will be involved, lots and lots of users, and it had reflected cross-site scripting. So all we have to do is get someone to click on a link, application gets popped internally. All right, back to our story. Step one, so we had to get the vendor's attention. So Like I said, we started with emails. So we have to find some contact information. And this is proving to be extremely challenging in this story. We tried with things like info ads, sales ads, like basically all the publicly available emails. Absolute silence, getting absolutely nowhere. They're just ignoring us. No matter how many emails we send, no matter how polite we are getting ignored. Remember, this is what most people deal with. So what do? Well, we do our little trick where we start looking at actual individual emails of people. In this case, like I said, we had access to the support documentation. So inside the support documentation, we actually had individual people's emails. Say, oh, email this guy at blah, 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 email this guy at blah, 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 and we're going to help you out with your issues. Cool. Let's email them ourselves. And the second we did, this worked. We actually got a response. Except, I just want to do another quick detour. Look, this is your first impression. So what did we do? Did we do the first email? Like it's a bad example, don't do this. Hey man, I found a whole bunch of vulnerabilities. I'm gonna give you 90 days. LOL. No, the better example, you want to be professional. So it's basically, hey, I'm a security researcher. I've discovered several vulnerabilities. I'd like to disclose them to you. How would you like to communicate with me? Do you have a preferred way of communicating? If you'd like more information, here's a link to ACSC. Here's a link to OWASP. Let me know if you'd like more information from myself as well. I'm more than happy to assist you in any way possible. Yeah, nice and professional, keep it friendly. Anyways, back to our story. So what response did we get? This is literally a copy and paste from an email. And look, I had to redact the name in case the vendor's in the audience. Nope, okay, cool. We can keep going. Not sure where you got your info on, and like I said, redacting the name, but it is not cloud-based and behind a firewall. So there's no possible access outside the network. Yay. There are no vulnerabilities we need to worry about. There you go. Problem solved. They don't have to worry about any vulnerabilities. It's fine. World is safe. Stick it behind a firewall, no issues. So, look, it's honestly an interesting response, but it's a deeper problem. So, as a security professional, or hobbyist hacker, or security researcher, or whatever, or whoever you are, you might be looking at this going, WTF? Like that's an insane response. What do you mean you're inside an internal network, you're behind a firewall, there's no vulnerabilities to worry about? That doesn't make any sense. Well, to the vendor, that actually makes a lot of sense. So as far as the vendor is concerned, the software is completely fine. There's no problem. It's fine. Yeah, there might be some vulnerabilities, but hey, it's not on the internet. If it's not on the internet, I can't get hacked. No, that's how unfortunately they think. Here's the thing. These vendors are not idiots. You need to understand that these are very smart people. The whole thing with like I said, I used to be a software developer. So the whole thing with being a software developer, you need to build software, and you have to build features, and you have to build them quickly. I have to get to market with new features. Security is the last thing I think about when I'm building software. Half the time developers don't understand security. It's honestly not something I need to worry about. My whole thing is building software which is really good, really fun to use. My job is to give you lots of features, not to worry about securing the camera like we just had the talk before. So the worst thing you can do with a vendor is basically treat them like an idiot. So yes, that is a perplexing response. That is completely insane. And you might be like, no, I'm dealing with an absolute moron here, but you're not. You're dealing with a smart person that's just got no clue about security. So, how do you deal with that? Well, step 2, we had to make them understand. In our case, we figured, sweet, all right, we're going to send you guys a POC. And the idea is that from a single link, we're basically going to pop the server. So how does it work? Well, we're going to start with reflected XSS. We're going to use a SQL injection. We're going to use an arbitrary file upload to basically get a reverse shell going. And yeah, it's honestly like really, really cool POC. I wish I could show it to you guys. But the vendor looks at it and is like, huh? I don't understand. In fact, when we sent it to them, they said, well, we can't control what links people click on. What do you want us to do about this? I was like, well, you can control vulnerabilities. No, what's that got to do with us? So it's like, okay, well, then they're not really getting it. Okay, so do we create more POCs? Like, do we show them more potential stuff? We could, except the problem is the vendor just does not get it. They're not getting security at all. We could do a lot more CVEs, and in fact we did. We ended up finding even more issues, so raising more CVEs, but again, it doesn't really help. You know, we keep telling them, hey, there's more vulnerabilities, we're finding a lot more stuff. And they're like, okay, but it's not on the internet. Yeah, okay. So again, we're asking to speak directly to people. This is literally what we did. No emails. So this is like we're gonna email you and send you more stuff. We're like, hey man, let's just talk. Let's get on the phone together. Let's do a Teams chat. We want to demo you a few of these. We want to explain this to you a lot better. Simple terms, as simple as we can be. Again, we are here to help them. We're not here to threaten and say, hey, you got 90 days, you know, your software's crap. I hate what you've done in here. It's literally, I'm here to help you. It's all about empathy. We are basically saying to them, look, we understand you're not security people. We get it. You're very smart. So let us try and talk developer to developer. Let's talk like how a developer would understand. Let's talk features. Let's talk the cool stuff you guys get. So this is when we basically do demos. We send them resources. So we send a whole bunch of stuff from Australian Cybersecurity Center, OWASP stuff like we mentioned you should be doing. Lots of explanations explaining what reflected XSS is, for example. Like what does it do? How do you actually do it? You know, let's actually demo it for you. Like set up all kinds of stuff for them. Finally, we're starting to get proper traction. Okay, back to my quotes. So this was a very, very frustrated dev that I was talking to. And if you guys know devs, like one of the things we like to say is, no, it's not a bug, it's a feature. So this guy took it to the next level. He goes, no, man, it's a feature. The records belong to the people. It was an idle. So there you go. Idols are not a bug, it's not a vulnerability, it's a feature because whenever you have an idol, just remember the records belong to the people. All right, so now we're on step 3. We have to confirm the fixes. And no, records do not belong to the people. So remember, developers are not security people. And I know it's weird because I'm saying I used to be a developer, so how the fuck am I a security person? Well, I don't know, it's just weird, I am. So this is a response we got after we finally got traction and we said to them, hey, you guys need to fix your SQL injections. And it's basically, I have made changes that check a valid session is active before executing any SQL Server function. It will throw up an unauthorized page and add attempt to the log file with the user's IP address. Nice, except it doesn't fix SQL injection, dude. What does it do? Well, it fixes unauthorized access. Yeah, cool, but not SQL injection. And the guy's telling us, yeah, it's fixed. Don't worry about it, it's all fixed. Well, no, it's not. Again, does this mean they're an idiot? No, they're not. They're just not security people. Like to them, that was a fix. Yes, you had unauthenticated SQL injection, so they fixed the unauthenticated part. Just left the whole SQL injection part alone. So, how many developers would literally go, yeah, here's a report, here's a POC, I'm going to fix it, it's done, let you know it's fixed. I mean, most developers will do that. And again, this is another response we said when we basically said, hey, hang on, like you have a SQL injection attack. You have a SQL injection attack. Like, yes, you fixed the unauthorized access, great, that'll fix it, but you still have to fix the SQL injection attack. And so here's something interesting. For any developers in the audience or security professionals curious about like how SQL injection will get fixed, this fix that they basically proposed is pretty good, as long as you're running MS SQL, so Microsoft SQL Server, and the query gets executed directly. So the idea is you basically take a single apostrophe, you turn it into 2 single apostrophes. You know, you might be thinking, oh yeah, what about backslash characters? No, MS SQL doesn't care about backslash. As long as you escape the single apostrophe, it's quite happy. Except it completely falls over if you're trying to look up numbers, because there's no apostrophes in it. So this is literally what I said. Thanks for that. We already do the parameter equals parameter.replace, single apostrophe to 2 single apostrophes. In case there are any apostrophes in something being searched on, yeah, great. But again, this fixes like 75% of your SQL injection issues, not the other ones. You want to fix it properly, you got to parameterize your query. Again, you know, they're just not getting it. So we have to retest more of the fixes. And okay, look, I know I'm kind of making it sound like I'm crapping on them and saying they did a crap job, but no, they're actually getting better and better. This is actually going to be a feel-good story. This is literally them starting to listen. So remember, we went from them ignoring us, telling us there's no issues, to now actually trying to fix things. That's where we want to be. So, vendors finally listening, great, thumbs up. They're trying to fix things. Okay, they're sort of understanding how security operates. I mean, let's not jump ahead of the story, but they're getting there. You know, they're getting better and better and better. What they don't fully understand is all the different issues, but they're trying to fix them. And honestly, to us, this is a win. And if you're doing something like this, is a win for yourself as well. If you can get to this point, that's a massive win. So this is where, like I said, if you can get to this point, you can become a hero of your own story. For us, we basically kept working with the vendor. So again, this is lots and lots of personal, I mean, this time I'll never get back. Whoa. But yeah, lots of personal times given up, like ton. We are basically constantly trying to assist them with the fixes. Because what they do is they fix something, they tell us it's fixed, we test it and we say, well, actually, you're still missing this. So there's lots and lots of back and forth on the retesting. Like we're constantly, they're fixing things, we're retesting, we're saying to them, hey, it's still broken, they're trying to fix it. So finally, we're getting a really cool response from a vendor. And this is when we can see they're starting to really think security. The 5 functions we have that do the actual interface with SQL Server have all checked for valid session at the start of them, and we'll send an alert to admin with an IP address. Cool. As well as output entry to no session log. I'm pretty sure that's what it actually is in there. And then throw an exception terminating the application. And okay, you know, that's whatever. But the next bit is the one I really like. You are welcome to look at it. Now this is really good. This is the vendor actually coming together with us and saying, you know what? We're liking what you guys are doing. You're helping us. This is a huge win. They're not just fixing the issues and saying to us, yeah, it's fixed, don't worry about it, or it's not on the internet, we don't need to worry about it, like they started. They're actually saying, hey, can you take a look at this? And not only that, they're literally trying to do some auditing, they're trying to do some logging, they're trying to capture potential attacks. Like they're really thinking security. They're thinking, you know, the security people that spoke to them originally are not bad hackers. They're looking at us going, they're our friends. Can you help us out some more? Finally winning. So, on to step 5. Okay, now we got to publish the findings. So this is, at this point, basically everything is fixed. And this isn't just the vendor saying it's fixed, this is us confirming everything is fixed. So the vendor's like, yep, it's all fixed, we've confirmed it. Like I said, lots and lots of back and forth. Ton of time spent, basically, to try and fix this. We confirm that everyone using the software in our story is safe. And we basically want to disclose the ACV. So the question is, how do you do the disclosure? So you actually have 2 choices when you're doing disclosure. You could drop a full POC, or you could go for something called self-disclosure. Does anyone know what self-disclosure is? Okay, I'm guessing everyone's just dropping full POCs. So why do you not want to drop a full POC? Well, a full POC is good for the security community. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's really good for script kiddies. It's really good for hackers. So can you imagine with this sort of software that's used by students, we don't want to give script kiddies ideas on how to hack it. We want to be very careful here. So this is when we want to go for soft disclosure. Not only that, but you got to think about how is the software being upgraded. Okay? You don't just want to go, yeah, it's cool. You know, the vendor said it's fixed. Vendor says everyone's patched. It's all good. We look at the upgrade path. Now, in our case, a lot of it is automated upgrades, and we did reach out to the vendor and said, okay, what about people that don't do automated upgrades? We said, we go on site, we actually upgrade them. And we waited for confirmation before dropping anything. Even then, we go for self-disclosure, which is basically saying, hey, you are vulnerable in such and such function. This is what the vulnerability was, but that's it. We're not giving any more information out. It's self-disclosure. Do you know we had to wait 6 months after we had confirmation that it was fixed? Like, we didn't just go, yeah, it's fixed, it's fine. We were like, no, we're going to wait even longer. We really wanted to make sure everything's fixed. And this is something you need to think about as well. Who is your disclosure going to impact? All right, another quote. This is actually from when I used to be a developer. And honestly, this is probably the smartest developer I know. Like this person is extremely talented. I wonder if they're in the audience. I don't see him standing up. Oh, well. So they literally looked at me. So this is me saying to them, hey, we have a vulnerability in our software. We can't go live. And they looked me right in the eye. And they said, well, they could just pick up the server and walk off with it. Why do we even need security? And look, at this point, honestly, I did not know how to respond to it. I just shut up. I was like, oh, damn, that actually makes a good point. Like, yeah. I mean, maybe I could walk into a data center, just pick up the server, like, see you guys, I'm walking out with it. But yeah, this is literally what we're dealing with. So, like I said, this is an extremely smart developer. So if you're in the audience, I'm calling out how smart you are. It's all good. But they have no idea about security. Like zero clue about security. They just don't get it. All right. So from a certain point of view, as Obi-Wan Kenobi once said, hello there. Or maybe it was General Grievous, I can't remember. Anyway, doesn't matter. Look, the thing is, when we talk vulnerabilities, you're talking about like, what is the risk to a business, what is the impact, how does the vulnerability operate, why should you even care about a vulnerability? The reality is that it's, to a security professional, it's extremely obvious. Like if I said to you, you've got a reflected XSS attack in this application, all I gotta do is get you to click on a link, you're like, yeah, okay, that's bad. Like if I say to you, hey, you're walking over the shed, and it's got a QR code that camera's gonna scan, and it's gonna pop a whole bunch of cameras, yeah, that's bad. To a vendor, it's like, huh? What? What's a QR code got to do with my shed? What's it got to do with a camera? Well, the problem is the vendor, developer, not security people. They're just not getting it. They're not getting the fact, like, why it's vulnerable. Why is it bad? What sort of an impact are we looking at? You have to remember that a lot of them are extremely proud of the product offerings. So they built this thing. They put a lot of effort into building an application. Like a lot. They're proud of it. From their point of view, you've just come along and you just told them your application's crap. You got a whole bunch of problems in here. They're like, what do you mean it's got a whole bunch of problems? It's got cool features. People love using it. What? Well, yeah, but from a security perspective, it's got problems. From a developer perspective, it's awesome. You're crapping on the beautiful baby. So, you've got to educate them. And why? Well, look, the problem is ignorance is bliss. And I'd hate to say this, but some vendors and developers are literally just living in perpetual ignorance. So they're looking at this going, yeah, no one's going to hack me. It's honestly the typical human condition when everyone's like, yeah, no one's going to hack me, not going to happen to me. You get in a car, you're driving down the street, you're not thinking to yourself, I'm going to have a car accident. Because you're driving, you're like, yeah, I'm going to get to where I'm going. But that's how developers think. They built the software, not going to hack me. They're going to hack someone else. That's, Optus is going to get hacked. Medibank is going to get hacked, not me. I'm fine. Hasn't happened to them. Out of sight, out of mind. Nothing to worry about. Do you know the problem with these people is actually the hardest ones to convince? Because they're the ones that will ignore you. So you tell them there's a vulnerability, then they're the ones that will actually ignore you. So your job is to basically get them to understand security. And like I said, my all-time favorite quote, but they could just pick up the server. I love using that one because it just demonstrates it 100%. It's like, this is the problem with developers. It's not the fact that they're stupid. The fact is they're very, very smart. They're just not getting security. So, our vendor right at the start. Okay, but it's fine. We have a firewall. So they know much better now. But this is literally how they started. This is how it started. Like to them, having a firewall was enough to protect an application. Not a web application firewall. I'm talking Windows firewall. Okay, quick TLDR summary. Please don't test in production. I think that goes without saying. You may get into a lot of trouble, obviously, testing in production. So the idea is with any of this software, you want to make a lab. Okay, grab yourself a copy of the software. A lot of the time you'll be able to do it. You will be able to get a copy of the software. Other reason we tell people not to test in production, let's say you're working for a company and you're like, oh, I want to play with my own product, see what the go is. Well, you don't want to knock it offline or damage it in some way. Always test in the lab. It's much safer. 2, do not ever threaten the vendor. Remember, the whole 90 days, yes, the typical responsible disclosure, we always say, oh, tell the person they're getting 90 days. Otherwise, you go on public. You go on nuclear. Bang. Here's the problem. You're not Apple. You're not Microsoft. You're not Google. You're just some name. You're just some random that's emailing them, calling them up, messaging them. You start threatening people, they're just going to look at you and be like, yeah, whatever. Go away. Your job is to basically educate them, assist, and most importantly, persist. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean harass them. It doesn't mean you call them up at 3 a.m. Hey man, did you fix that vulnerability yet? Hey, guess who this is? It's the guy who reported your vulnerability. Did you fix it yet? No, you don't want to do that. But you want to be persistent, okay? So that does mean emailing them. If they basically say to you, no, there's no vulnerabilities, you don't just go, oh yeah, cool. Vendor says there's no vulnerabilities, nothing to worry about. Psst, wow, I'm out of here. No, you email them back. You call them back. You say, oh, actually there is a vulnerability in here. You need to look at it. And when they finally do fix it and tell you it's fixed, you don't just go, yeah, cool, it's fixed. You need to retest it and actually confirm the fixes. Because a lot of these people will actually assume it's fixed. Oh, yeah, we fixed it, it's fine, nothing else to worry about. No, you've seen what happened with our vendor. They literally told us everything's fixed, and we're like, yeah, well, actually it's not. Finally, you want to consider disclosure method, okay? So like I said, our case, lots and lots of students are affected, so we need to think about how are we actually disclosing it. And this is where things get difficult. So, what is the upgrade path? Is it automated upgrades? Is it manual upgrades? So people have to download the software themselves. How do you know everyone's been upgraded? Anytime you drop a vulnerability, you're potentially exposing people to getting attacked. So you have to think about how you're disclosing it. You drop a POC, you're giving a script kiddie an ideal way to hack into someone's machine or lab or whatever. My personal recommendation is wait until it's fixed. 100% wait until it's fixed. Never ever drop a vulnerability. Like even if you get to the whole, yeah, it's been 90 days, you don't seem to be doing much, just poke the vendor and say, hey, what's happening? Wait until it's fixed. And wait until the users have upgraded. Because yes, they could have fixed it, but the users are still struggling to upgrade. There may be issues with upgrade process. You don't know that. And then probably the most important thing is always consider who your disclosure affects. Don't just drop a POC, don't just drop a thing saying, yeah, sweet, I've got the cool street cred now, I'm one of the best hackers in the world, whatever. Like your disclosure could actually affect a lot of innocent people. So think about it. Any questions?
So thank you, Jack.